Hello and welcome. In about few hours the new expansion will be live. This is the moment where we can find a lot of new players and also old players that make a comeback to the game, and they do not always have a lot of money and thus to invest in this kind of game, and that's why I always come up with ideas for the budget decks. And right now I've got three that might perform the best, at least in my opinion. Those mostly are really powerful decks that perform pretty well in the previous meta, but right now they are upgraded with the new cards. And first we'll start with a token druid. Why it's so powerful? It's pretty easy to play on curve and swarm the board, and then we've got pretty powerful finishers and reliable win condition, which will be bursting the opponent with your buffs, like for example Savage, or at least most of the times when you will have a lot of minions on board, this will win you the game. How do you want to mulligan? So it's pretty straightforward. You need to play on curve. That's why you want to keep current beer, and then also when this will die you will have guaranteed turn to play with those two squirrels. They cost only 1 mana, and then also something like the Mekaru or Worthy of Expedition, but the problem is that you do not develop anything on turn 1, so this is not the best keep ever, but still there are a lot of good choose one cards, and it might perform pretty well in early game and also in late game, so that's why I decided to include this kind of card. And then as a follow-up, most of the times we'll have Dreamwake Guardians, the new addition, because most of the times I just want to mention new cards and how they perform in this kind of deck, because this is our main focus. You might even remember how the token druid works across the whole those expansion, because this archetype exists for like few years. And then we've got Serpent Egg. So still, this is really powerful, because if you remember in Rubian Egg, it was 2 mana 0 2 or 4. Okay, I didn't remember, but I think it was 2. And then you've got a 4/4 Nerubian, so it's almost like as powerful as this previous card, and it was nuts. So Nex is out once again, just in a slightly different form. And then, like, if your opponent will trade into it, you will have a good minion. If they won't trade, you will just buff it with, for example, like Blessing of Ancients. So that's why it's so powerful. It might seem like his deck, it's a little bit expensive, but we got Snip Snap for free for just logging in. If you do not have it, you can still replace it pretty easily with something like the Harvest Golem. It's just the same thing, but without the Echo at some point, and you've got slightly different minion from the Devrel, which will be a 2/1 mech. And then Archmage Wargod, still another card we got for free, and it's really powerful in this kind of deck. You might also want to keep in mind Soul of the Forest. This is basically a 4 mana druid spell that will give your minions Devrel summon a 2/2 Trent. It's pretty powerful against control decks, but this is just a tech card. And then as some sort of like a mid-game option, especially the new card, Surger. Why it's pretty powerful, at least in my opinion, because it works really well as a like token generator, because you've got 2 minions for 1, but there is also Rush, which is pretty important because it works really well if you want to, for example, go face, but you do not have like direct damage. And here with this Rush, you can like charge into a taunt minion or just anything annoying, and at the same time just create the board and do favorable trades because of the Rush. So yeah, that's pretty good. And also Swipe as some sort of finisher and surprise on top of it. Explodinator and replicating Menace, those are just pretty powerful token generating kind of things. And because we've got few mechs, this kind of magnetic mechanic might work pretty well. Second deck that works pretty well is a Zoo Warlock. Like, once again, if you're on budget, what do you want to create? Probably a Zoo Warlock. It's really cheap and it works pretty well. We've got only 2 epic cards. Yes, it relies around the magic carpet, but this is such a great tool in this kind of deck, because you will be able to trade into something right away, and especially against other aggressive decks, they won't stand a chance against the magic carpet, because you just trade into whatever you want. The other stuff, it's a pretty normal common Zoo Warlock. It just relies on 1-drops, but we've got the new mechanic from the Uldum, which is also a lucky buff, or just even more luckies, and because they cost only 1 mana, it works pretty well with the magic carpet. So just because of like this fact, we can combine those two things together, and it synergize and works pretty well. So Evil Recruiter, it's already okay. It's not even close to being like nuts or amazing, whatever, if you will play this as a free mana free, but imagine the tempo swing. The tempo swing is real when you will get a 5/5 demon, which is like another small synergy that might happen. Okay, so here once again, I think Serpent Egg, it's amazing, really. You've got 2 cards to trigger it, Evil Genius and also Grim Rally. So if you won't even buff anything, okay, then it's pretty mediocre, but it won't happen because you will always have the board. It's pretty common thing in a Zoo Warlock. So basically, then you will trigger one of those things and also get like the bonus and just additional stats on top of it. I decided that Mermy, it's a pretty good option because of the reburn mechanic. Then you will be able to get another token, and most of the times you want to target with all those weird effects, just a 1/1. You do not want to sacrifice anything bigger, so that's why we've got this kind of minions. And then I also thought we will test out the Samurai Taskmaster, but you can also opt for the Argent Squire, or also I thought that Witchwood Imp, it's pretty okay. It's basically a 1 mana 1/1, yes, with the give a random friendly minion +2 health. It might work pretty well, so you can still experiment with this kind of card, and it's a 1/1, so you can sacrifice it pretty easily and do not feel bad about it. And then also what kind of different new card we've got? Discover a Lucky, of course. Then you will get the right Lucky to the situation. You might get the spell. Most of the times you want a Lucky that will discover a spell, because this has just a bonus of value, and yeah, then you can get card draw, more damage, or just, you know, something a little bit more expensive that summon even more minions. And the third deck, of course, it's something like a Beast Hunter. I still think that there are a lot of ways to build this kind of deck, but it relies around the same mechanics. So basically beasts and synergies with it. And yeah, we've got really powerful early game, a really easy way to play on curve, and then super powerful late game, which is, okay, it's not a late game, it's not something like the Zul'jin, but it might be your first upgrade, by the way. But also, Savannah Highmane, this card is nuts, it's really hard to kill, the Thrall is amazing, so I do not really, you know, want to tell too many positive things about this card, because it's really tricky, it's really hard to kill, and it works really well. So I decided to include few new cards. Desert Spear, this is a little bit questionable, I'm not sure how well this will perform, but because we do not play secrets, Eaglehorn Bow, it's just pure damage, it's pretty mediocre. So then I thought, okay, how to find a synergy around those cards. So basically when we'll get another Locust, which is a beast by the way, we can of course go for Hyena. On top of it, we'll summon another minion, and we can play on curves, so like turn 2 Knife Juggler into turn 3 Desert Spear. Seems to be pretty powerful. And then also, not only we've got a pretty aggressive start, like turn 1 Shimmerfly and Springpaw, then into a 2-drop, but turn 3 we can also go for Animal Companion, and then we've got a slightly bigger problem, let's say, because we do not have cards and how to gain more value in order to deal with our opponent. This is the moment when the Hunter's Pack kicks in, because we'll get 3 additional cards for just 3 mana. And when you are on budget, this is just a common card, so it's amazing. Like the amount of value, even if it's random, it's amazing. Like most of the beasts are pretty powerful and they are okay, so it's really worth playing and including. And when you will get this in mid game or late game, you will have more mana to work with. So this also means that you can just rely a little bit more on the random effects, because you do not necessarily need to play on curve. Okay, this is like the good bonus to play on curve and play the most efficient card, but this is already pretty efficient when you will get 3 cards just for 3 mana. 1 card, 1 mana. Feels good, man. And then also I really like this Wild Tamer, because it's already pretty powerful, it's a good aggressive card, and on top of it we can get another random beast from our hand. But most of the times we'll have the Savannah Highmane. If you will have this problem, if you will run into this kind of issue that you need another beast because you just can't really like reliably hit the battle cry of this minion, just replace something like Swarm of Locusts or a Mark Shot, let's say, or it maybe even like, yeah, any kind of spell for a beast. for just a beast that fits into this kind of deck, which will be a mid-range or the aggressive beast, and then you will get even more value. So I already really like this card. Yeah, the value town is real, and Trump loves it. Okay, so then we've got just a normal common hunter kind of things, like deal even more points of damage, skill command, unleash the skill, feels pretty good when you will kill your opponent, a life drinker for additional reach, mark shot just to get this discover a spell, because then you will be able to gain even more value, and at the same time you will kill one of the opponent minions. So this card is amazing. In my opinion, this is like 4.5 stars out of 5, and yeah, Swarmer Locust, because when those minions will rush into something and they are a beast, you can also buff your hyena pretty easily, and you do not necessarily need to rely on Unleash the Hounds with hyena, but it also works pretty well. And of course, all those tokens with Knife Juggler will deal even more points of damage, and there with Alpha, you can buff those things in order to trade. So yeah, that's another positive thing. So, thank you very much for watching. If you want to see more budget decks that I will experiment with during this expansion, especially at the beginning, just, you know, subscribe and follow me. So basically, I will focus even more on creating those kind of things and, yeah, present them in some sort of gameplay. So, see you in the next ones.